Hello, hello, here at Shoe Healer, and we've got a pair of Panama Jack boots. Paul, where have these come from?
They're a friend of mine.
A friend of yours, yeah. And
Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing them.
otherwise, Paul would not be doing them, but they belong to a friend of his. And it's like a moulded unit onto a waxy leather upper. Wouldn't be a crazy expensive boot, I don't think. But the gentleman is having these on, these Vibram units, yeah?
The repair's probably more than what the boot.
Well, yeah, Paul's there. I don't.
The uppers, so.
Yeah, I don't know if his mic's picking him up, but he just said it's probably more expensive to have this repaired on. How much is it? 100 quid? 105 pounds.
90 and 15.
That's not each. That's for the pair. It's a bog off. You buy one, you get one free. So that's the unit that's going to go on there. Can you imagine that there? Looking at that there. So we've got to machine this down, but Paul's got to do a bit of work, a bit of groundwork on them. Put a midsole in, a nice leather midsole. You're going to Blake stitch that midsole on, yes?
Create a base somewhere and then.
Because this is a mock welt. This is a moulded mock welt. I actually thought it was a reconstituted cardboard mock welt, but it's a moulded mock welt. And look, just look down there. Look, can you see that gaping a little bit there? Look, you see, if we really pulled on that, we'd be able to pull that off. Right, lovely. Right, okay, so now we'll just go over to the machine and start a bit of work. See you again, my friend.
See you again, mate.
Come on. So I'm going to take these down to a level. Do you want to go to the well or just leave a little bit on as well?
I'll go through the well.
To the well?
Yeah.
Right, look it up. Look it up.
Create a nice line.
Okay. Slide it. So we're going to take this all the way. Just leave the welt on and a little bit of the structure in the middle, and stitch on a unit which will give us a nice.
What do you think,
I don't know, mate. I don't know. Depends how much he wants them built up. You know, how much of a platform he wants them.
Well, you've got a wedge stall as well, haven't you? Which
Yeah.
is going to create, I think, a good spin.
Thin them, yeah. And it'll keep it a little bit more flexible as well. Yeah. So, I don't know if you can still hear me. I'm just smashing that down. When we're doing this, we've got to be careful that we don't catch and pull that over. The machine's pulling like fury, and if you let it go under, it'll just whip that and run up the boot, and the boot will be buggered. Safety glasses from the pound shop. Saves me putting my fingers off. I've got to say, it's quite satisfying, guys, just getting in there, getting dirty. Everybody says our website's rubbish and I should be doing the website, but who wants to do that when you can be here on the machine making a mess and mending shoes? Right, so get the safety glasses back on, and all machined off. This is a fibre board. Look, we've just see that bit of a shank that's in there, still in there, lovely, plastic shank. We'll put a little bit of padding on there just so it gives it a little bit of softness, because that's straight through now to the insole. And then Paul's going to prime this first, and then he's going to solution on that midsole. That's the word I'm looking for. Primer, plastic glue, ordinary glue, and then ordinary glue. If you don't get the glue in right, it's even though it's going to be stitched, it's got to be bonded right. Absolutely. And what we've done when we've finished this, when we've been on the machine, we go all the way around, make sure it's all nice and level and all nice and even round that welt. And then we go back round and we machine off. So the last run around the machine Any young repairers watching? You machine off. If you machine on there, it curls that edge around, and it doesn't look very good. Doesn't give you a crisp edge. So we machine off, and then over here, start off with the primer, and he's going to prime it. But I'm not doing that job for him. That's his job. So when he's primed it, and he's got the midsoles ready, we'll hopefully catch him.
So I was gonna say, is this your
Yes.
way of saying you're not going to get this?
No, we're gonna hopefully catch him, and then he will go over to the Blake machine, stitch this on. Blake sole stitching is through the shoe, not on the welt, on the outside of the shoe, and then bond the unit on. So hopefully we'll catch some of that. Back on the Panama Jack, the what's another word for cheap then? You don't want to say cheap. The cheap boot. I don't want to say that. What would you say? Fashion boot. That's it. Fashion boot. This is your mate, Paul. Has he got a sense of humour?
Roger, yeah,
Good lad, Roger. Yeah. Well, listen, this leather is beautiful, and he just likes the look of the boot. Fully leather lined. It's got some padding underneath this inner leather and the outer leather. It's got some padding on there, which will make that really nice across the top of your foot. They are absolutely fine for.
Is it the same person who the top of the other one?
No, I don't think so.
I've never heard of Panama Jack, and that's 2 pairs.
2 pairs now, yeah. But Paul won't do. This has been a nice repair. Why won't you do this repair? Come on, truthfully, you would, wouldn't you? If somebody sent something in like this, you've got that black pair in the back, haven't you, to do similar repair? But he's having leather on. So
yeah, but they're just a little bit of a level up from them.
These are what from this. So this had all that moulded bottom on, and then that welt that you've seen is just machine off. Paul's put this on, and now he's going to Blake stitch round the edge, but he's going to be stitching through the bottom, so the insole's got to come out.
When did that go on?
What's that?
We were on about this in the last video.
Yeah.
It's gonna, next time we see them, they'll be done.
They'll be stitched through the inside, through here, stitched all the way around, and that will sort out this where it's creeping back. The upper look is creeping back a little bit there because it was never stitched. It was only ever glued, and it was sandwiched in between an insole, and the insole has started to go soft on the edges and start to curl up, just on the edges, curl up a little bit, and it no longer traps the upper. It's lifted up because it's cardboard, or Conti board. And so when he stitched it, that will be solid, but he's stitching through the inside round there, and then he's going to bond that unit on like that. And now it's nice because we're bonding leather to rubber. So none of that arsing about with the... Did you put primer on?
Yeah.
And then plastic glue?
Yep.
Nice,
And then leather glue?
Yep.
Yeah, what a nightmare. We're at it forever. And then he's going to have that sole. Do you think that's going to be nice?
It's going to create a really good boot. And the conversation I had with Roger was, you've got 50 to 60 pound if I just did a sole and heel, a stick-on sole and heel. Or £105 for that.
And it's going to be great.
Yeah, and I think he said he paid £125 for the boot, but he says I can't buy another one for
No.
So instead of buying another pair to replace them, I'm going to end up with a really good boot.
He's going to end up with a
that's
cracking
going
boot.
to be repairable forever.
That would have suited it as well.
And this is not Paul's thing, is it? Because he likes Goodyear welted stuff. But anyway.
That would have suited it as well. That sole you did last week. What was that Rocky one? That same call.
Yes.
He has got a nice Yamaha motorbike that I'm hoping he's going to leave me in his will, though.
Oh, right. Lovely. So that's out there. All done, ready. And, that's me done for today. I'm going home now. That's us sorted. Leave Paul to it. He's got a couple more hours to do. What time have you done tonight, Paul?
8, 9-ish.
Yeah, good lad. Keen as mustard, that lad. Keen as mustard. Lovely. What have we got here, Paul? What have we got here? This is... Oh, look at that. Horseshoes on there.
That's a good conversion, actually, that. It's
you've stripped off. Look at that. Nice boot.
Stripped off. And then we're putting a midsole in it, a thick midsole, because it had a rubber midsole in.
So this is a military boot. Yeah.
Yeah, but
With
for a military
sort of...
boot, though, feel the uppers.
I know, yeah. That is
Usually
stunning.
they're like pit boot,
Yeah.
more sort of harder leather, aren't they?
Yep. Unlined at the back, half lined at the front. A
So
fibre board insole, but
Keith
it's
brought
not,
me a
it's not
photo in
cardboard.
of,
That is it. That almost feels like it's bloody super tough. That.
Yeah, he's created a boot from AI, what he wants me to replicate.
All right. Well, it sounds interesting. Okay, look. So that there, look in the heel there. Look, there's a foam piece under the heel, and with age, that's starting to break up a little bit. That's strange to see that a heel piece
This
in there.
is all
look.
the components of it. Rubber midsole.
Rubber midsole. Yeah, tough. Oh, I bet that was heavy. Yeah, toe plate.
Toe plates, all his metal work.
So that was a midsole, military boot, size 11, and
that one on the top.
these are called clover studs. Are they something like that?
I seen a repair with them before.
Clover army studs. That's the toe plate on there. Yeah. Some good ironwork here, and then the horseshoes in the back. Yeah, you don't do this, do you?
He's a
careful.
really good customer.
No, but you don't do the.
Oh no, the metalwork. No.
No,
Not
you
if I
don't.
can help it.
No.
But we're is making his mind up whether we're going with Commando or like the Vibram Montana.
Yeah.
Bonded on to the stitched midsole, and then a leather heel stack,
Right.
and a Commando heel on top.
Well, I'm saying yeah.
So-
And what was the Montana?
Montana.
There's some
is-
weight. There's some weight there. Are these going in the bin?
No, I'm going to take them back to him.
Are you? All right. He's
Yeah.
going to weigh them in.
Where's the
Montana.
Oh, he took them home with him. He's took them home with him because him and his son's doing this project.
Hang on. So the soles that we can't find now, your mate
Yes.
has took
yes.
them home.
Keith's took them home with him, and I'm going to strip the boots, put the mid on, and taking them home with me because the chap lives in the same village as me. And then he's going to discuss with his son which model is going down, which path is going down,
Wow.
to create this boot that is generated on AI.
He's not gaffer taping these soles to his slippers and walking about just to see what they're going to feel like. Anything? No.
I don't know.
No.
We'll come back to you when we find out what is happening. We'll take you through the build anyway. And
Yeah, that's good. That's got some weight there. But you're right. The leather is beautiful. Really good.
and leather lined as well, which is
Leather.
I said to him, it's usually Sanders that usually make the military stuff, but
Yeah.
they just feel
Half leather
a
lined.
level
From here, or the front is lined.
Yeah.
The back's not lined. Yeah. Right, okay, lovely. Let's crack on. I've got to go on. Carol's tonight. Right, so you saw the boots with the sole, with the midsole on, and this is the boot all finished. You can see the midsole in there. There's a little bit of unevenness on this welt and midsole because it's not actually leather. This is like a reconstituted material. The leather midsole is there. And yeah, what a lovely repair. We've put some laces in. If we just have a look inside, you should be able to see. Look at those here. Lovely. Look inside, and we lift this loose insole up, and you should be able to see some stitching in there. I wish I'd have done this beforehand, but you can't see the stitching. Oh, you can just see the stitching. Can you see it down there? Look, just down the edge of there. Some stitching. That stitching goes all the way around the edge of the shoes and has Blake stitched that midsole on. Come here, this is a Blake stitch machine here. So instead of this, look at this machine gets used as a clothes horse. Look, that stitches on the outside of the shoe on the welt. This machine here, we take the shoe and we put this is the horn. Lift a foot right up. And then the shoe goes on, and then that stitches through the inside of the shoe, not through this sole, but through the midsole. This sole for our machine's far too thick. You do find some machines that will stitch through here, but this spongy rubber material, this Vibram sole, it starts to deform and doesn't look particularly nice when it's stitched through. So,
Now we're on here.
yes.
Explain why you can't stitch through the same holes on this, because there was a comment once asking about it, wasn't there?
You can't really see. You can't see what you're doing. You're working upside down, and the holes inside the horn is stitching inside the shoe, and all you're looking at is the midsole that doesn't have any stitching on it. so you have no idea where the needle's going to go. There's just one needle that comes down, picks the thread, pulls it back up. It's a really big, stout, thick needle on here. Whereas on this machine, there is an awl that comes up and makes the hole, and then the needle comes down and picks the thread up. So this machine, you can see exactly where you're going to stitch. You can measure your stitches and you can set off and you can see exactly where it's going to land. This is a Scotch edge to adjust, which brings the shoe in and out. This is for the measurement of the stitch. Very little adjustment on the Blake machine. Yes. Good example here. Look, you see this shoe here is coming for a repair, and look, can you see the stitching? This is the old stitching. We haven't repaired this. It's been repaired somewhere else. And if you look inside the shoe there, you can, I don't know if you can see down in there. Can you get to see the old stitching and the new stitching? I don't know if it's...
Yeah, I can get it good. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. You can see it. You can see it quite good in there. The old stitching is loose inside. Yeah. And then you can see they've used a brown thread on the new stitching. But look, they've just not, everything's just not quite been, because these are the old holes, and there's a new set of holes just behind that now where it's all stitched down nice. Now this wasn't a bad repair. Look round there, look, we'd have got rid of all this stitching. There's no need to see that stitching there. Moccasin. So it's got to be stitched inside, and you're doing it quite blind, really. So you've got to make sure that sole is all lined up beautifully when you start to stitch, because you can't really see where you're going. And there's no guide at all on a Blake machine. On an outsole stitcher, there's a guide on the edge, and there's a table it rests on. All you've got is the horn underneath, and you've got to make sure that your stitches are dropping in right and picking up the upper in the right place. Little bit of a nightmare. Unfortunately, these shoes have come in for a repair, and we're going to send them back because there's not a great deal that we can do. You know, look at this here. Look, just down the edges there. Look, there's nothing we can do about that stitching there. That's that side. It's that side there. Look, you know, and but still, this repair has lasted. It's lasted quite well. It's a solid repair, and sometimes it's about as good as you can get a moccasin type of shoe. Paul, what do you want to stick to? Goodyear welted, that's his thing. That's where we excel, Goodyear welted. When it comes to moccasin, this shoe stamped in there, made in Italy, fashion shoe, nice enough shoe, but not something that we can really sort out. Anyway, back to these here that we have sorted out. They've turned out really nice. Paul's managed to get those to stitch all together really well. He's got them nice and tight at the end. There was no other holes to be worried about because they'd never been stitched before. So that boot has gone together, made a really nice boot. I think the chap, I think he'll have paid not a great deal for these. The repair might be more expensive than the boot. 125, and his repair is 105. Yep. Oh, it's a far better boot. Yep. So these were the army boots. Oh, stunning boot, this. Absolutely gorgeous leather. I can't see who the manufacturer is on there. You know, some army supply, but the leather is beautiful. They've now got a Commando on. Are they staying with the natural edge, Paul? Yeah. Staying with the natural edge, and
put some brass eyelets in and
yep.
ski hooks. It's coming from a half one, by the way, so I can do it.
Brass eyelets, ski hooks, and then some nice tan laces in there, and they will look stunning. Brass eyelets, ski hooks. Can you imagine that? We should have had these done, shouldn't we, really, for this video? But yeah, all sorted out. Another good job done here at the shoe dealer.